or presents the Season 2 Wrap-Up.
This is Gary Butterfield.
This is Cole Ross.
And what a long, strange season it's been.
I mean, it was the same length as the one before it.
But long and strange.
Oh, strange, sure.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Season 2 Wrap-Up.
Yeah, this is where we're going to be sharing our thoughts about the DVD extras for Season 2. We're going to be reading your thoughts, offering some final summaries, and then getting ready for that sweet, sweet Season 3 action.
Yeah. What do you think about, what are your wrap-up thoughts on Season 2 of The Venture Brothers?
It's funny. The thing that is fresh in my mind right now, because I just watched the DVD extra stuff, is I want my Pete and Billy. There's no Pete and Billy in this season, Gary.
Boy, do they make up for it.
Yep.
In the next couple seasons. I've been watching ahead. I'm like near the end of season 5 now.
Yeah.
And they really double down on the Pete and the Billy. So any excuse to throw Pete and Billy in.
Yeah. I mean, not an overall thought about like the quality of it, but you know, when we talk about this show and we mention like, yeah, they never really put their toys down once they never really put their toys away. You know, stuff that's introduced just kind of tends to stick around and get developed. That is something of an early, I think, series weirdness that those two major characters just kind of evaporate for a while.
Yeah. Well, they get you can kind of see how they're a little bit mercurial.
Yeah.
You know, they'll follow their interest, and like they liked them, but they also were like, oh, we have to explore this other stuff.
Yes.
And then, you know, let's go back to the things we like. I was thinking about having watched ahead of the show now. It's interesting how the first 4 seasons all kind of expand the ambition of the show in a different way. You know, and the first season is obviously just setting everything up. I think the second season is mostly about kind of structural ambition.
Yeah, I could see that. Elaborate
like
on
not
that more.
Just with not just with your houses of mummies and stuff, but also it's like the first season where they started doing episodes that weren't focused on the core cast.
Yes.
You know, like you get your fallen arches and the like, and you get your kind of bottle episode.
Yeah.
Type things in this one. You get your Victor Echoes, Novembers and the like that basically take place at one location.
Yeah.
They start kind of experimenting with that format and structure a little bit, the same way that in season 3 is all about backstory.
Yes.
Like season 3 is like all these characters have origins. They all knew each other. What are they? And then season 4 being very clearly about, hey, let's mess all that up.
Yes.
You know, like we have an origin, but what we don't have is a status quo.
Right. Let's deal with Patrick Warburton taking a little break from the show for a bit.
Well, he doesn't really disappear.
Right.
He's in almost every episode. It's just now we also follow Sphinx and OSI. You know, it becomes about like the Venture Brothers world. And that's kind of something that happens in season 4 and onward. And you get the first inklings of it here in season 2.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely playing with scope. In this, you know, you talked about the bottle episode in Victor Echo November, but like, I don't know, they could not have attempted to do something with the structure and scope of 20 Years to Midnight in season 1, probably. Right?
Yeah.
Just because they didn't have enough like moving parts. They didn't have enough people to go and do all that stuff in all of those different places, you know, do the globe trotting kind of thing. Yeah.
You know, and so this is, you know, a lot of people talk about season 3 when the show finds its voice. I'm saying that I think that the show finds parts of its voice for like the first 4 seasons.
Yeah.
And it's not really completely, totally what the Venture Brothers is to me until season 4, really, because season 4 is where we have all the, you know, every character is taken seriously. We also understand that things are going to change. On this show. It's not going to be, you know, The Simpsons or The Family Guy. It's not a sitcom.
Yeah. You know, and also like the idea of finding your voice, like that's not a switch that gets flipped between seasons, you know? It's a process. They're finding bits and pieces of it, right?
You find each note one by one.
Yes.
Of your voice. So it's neat. Like it's a really good season in retrospect. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Even on this rewatch. Like I think I like this more than season 5. Like season 5, I think is a little bit weak.
A little bit.
But I'm really looking forward to talking about season 3 and 4. So, which we will do shortly. We also are going to have your thoughts about season 2 after we talk about the DVD features.
We will. The centerpiece DVD feature is a tour of the Astro Base. And if you listen to the previous season 1 wrap up, heard us talk about the process of animating Hank and Dean. It's very similar to that, really. What with the Pete and Billy narration, with the just rapid fire jokes building up the fake world kind of stuff, but it's a little bit more expansive because it's actually showing their very cluttered working space.
Yes. Yeah. And the joke is kind of that, it's pretty low rent and garbagey and trashy, but they're treating it as from the future, with all these little sci-fi elements. This is pretty beefy. This is the special feature. And it's really dense with fun.
Yeah.
When you go to, they talk about the origins of the Astro Base here, created by a sex predator.
Yeah, Dr. Daniel Faustus.
Yeah. So this special classroom for boys, different than Astro Base Ice Cream Ninja and Astro Base Dinosaur Jetpack or whatever,
which was named by some of the kids. Yeah. No, he proposed this to the government just as a way to get kids trapped in a place. Yeah.
Yeah, as you do.
Yeah.
And, so when Doc and Jackson go up there, they arrive 3 minutes before they left. Huge Outer Wilds energy. And they do a joke that I've seen before that I really love, which is taking a relatively confined space and then just shooting it from multiple angles for a long time to make it look maze-like.
Yep.
Because it's so clearly they just have a hallway there. And they have roof access. They have like a ladder they can go up. They can't emerge from the ladder though. They can climb up it and then they can pretend to emerge from the top of the ladder.
Yep.
Stuff.
Yeah, they're talking about the 7-mile walk from the landing site to the to the base itself. Yeah.
Yeah, that they do in silence.
In honest to God speed suits is what they're wearing, which is fun.
Yeah, I was looking those up on Amazon.
Yeah,
speed suit, you can get them.
I knew a guy. My brother had a friend who decided to live the jumpsuit lifestyle.
Interesting.
Yeah, he was not well. Is the thing. But he was crashing on my brother's couch. They were old military buddies, and then just at one point he decided all jumpsuits all the time. They're just easier.
It's very tempting. He sounds good. Yeah. I mean, I guess like my general boxer shorts and t-shirt. It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
It is 2 though instead of 1, and 2 is more than 1.
2 is more than 1. Yeah,
can't argue with that. When they eventually get to their place, it's pretty scummy. Like this is obviously some weird industrial.
Yeah.
New York like pipe hallway.
And like it's one of those from like before those were cool. Before that, I mean, they kind of always were a little cool. Like I was always envious of Wayne's new house from Wayne's World 2.
That's very similar. Yeah, big vibes.
Yeah. But this is before like all these startups decided, oh, it's cheaper to not finish these walls, so let's just pretend that this is cool and chic. Expose brick, everybody. Don't lean against it.
Yeah, and which it's a bummer because I love it and now it's hip.
Uh-huh.
I was like way into that, like or like the house that Big gets in the movie Big.
Yes. Yeah.
The Big's apartment, his second apartment, not the first one. That's Dean's apartment in Bright Lights, Dean City.
Right.
The first one, the second one. They're showing all their stuff, which is really fun, just to look at all the garbage they have around. Like it is a very Gary style creative space. Like, this is the kind of clutter that appeals to me.
Yeah. It strikes me that like they never, okay, we can't get rid of this, so let's get a shelf for it.
Yeah. I love that tact. Yes. Just put stuff up because you never know, and then they use it. It's like they have Hugo the Man of Disguises, and it's like, well, he shows up.
Yeah.
to me, kind of the center piece of this is the stations
Yes.
that they have. This joke is very funny to me and goes on for a very long time.
Yeah, and it's funny because like there's only a couple of things that you can do. It's just always manipulation station. And then they have like caffeination station and rejuvenation station, but it's like, you know, we need to touch up the voices over here in the audio manipulation station, and it's presented. They always say each one as if it's the first time they said station.
And just the idea of everything having these little dorky technical names.
Yep.
You know, it's very funny. It's really cute. It goes on for quite a while.
And I was geeking out over like the gigantic soundboard. I was geeking out over Jackson Public's Wacom Cintiq, his little drawing tablet. Like, shit, I do want one of those.
It's cool to see.
Yeah.
You know, where they do all this stuff.
The big wall of guitars, or the guitar rack that they had that is jam packed. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Cool bookshelf, like full of like interesting looking books.
Yeah.
Like these boys. One of the things I noticed from watching this, like I get a lot of jealousy about these boys. And then when I realized they both smoke,
right,
I was like, oh, this place stinks.
Oh yeah,
like,
it does.
There's no ventilation. It probably smells like death. I don't want to visit this.
No, terrible.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if everything didn't have like a brown film on it.
Yeah. How 1999 of you guys?
I know,
Jesus Christ.
right? Yeah.
You know? Knock that shit out.
Public going over to the caffeination station and smoking while he pours himself some coffee. Like, okay, Barney Miller.
Yeah. They
should start vaping. That way everything smells like birthday cake.
Yeah, I love it. Everything's like a cotton candy nightmare. And then the next kind of major feature is them explaining the Soulbot, who can process over 10,000 anxieties per second.
Yep. Whose heart is powered by the unexpressed love in a partnership.
Yeah, just collects it, and then lets it go, which is a loud and blinding experience.
I love when they have Soulbot sitting there. You know, they have him Photoshop with a guitar, with Doc Hammer playing, and they just kind of say his heart can keep perfect time, and he's pre-programmed with bossa nova, salsa, ballad, rock 1, and rock 2. I love rock 2.
That's a really, really well observed Casio keyboard.
Yep.
Kind of joke. I know exactly the difference between rock 1 and rock 2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That shit's incredible. And also just like, the basis of Helper, when Helper does when he's the basis for Shallow Gravy.
Yeah.
Which is coming up. The weird swing beat kind of thing. I also like how Soulbot can stay still longer than a melancholic woman in her underwear.
Yeah.
And the idea that the doc uses him as a model is very funny.
Yeah. Just higher models. We just watch. He just looks at the pose and then just draws or paints the melancholic woman around and over her. Yeah. I do like the way that it ends with Billy being in denial about the fact that they haven't really been used. And Pete, trying to throw cold water on him, saying, we're going the way of Baron Underbite.
And he's like, no way. Like, my backstory hasn't even been explored.
Why was I wearing a black armband? Yeah.
Yeah. And he's, it's like the third episode of the next season.
Yeah.
Is all of his backstory. So Billy gets vindicated.
He does. Take that, Pete.
We also get not very good deleted scenes.
Yeah, I mean, on the last wrap up, you said it would be more appropriate to call these extended scenes, and it's clear what happens as you're watching these. Some of them are, most of them are animatics, but some of them weirdly are final animation, just with the audio play put over them. Which was surprising to me that this was sent out and came back, but you can tell it's kind of like, okay, I remember that line and that line and that line. This is part of the process of them cutting stuff for time. It's like, oh, we don't need to explain that. We can just kind of leave it. We can just kind of let it be, let the viewer put 2 and 2 together on that. Right.
Yeah. Context clue it.
Yeah. We don't need we don't need that third version of that joke in a row. We can cut that and the first 2 will suffice. That kind of thing.
Yeah. So let's go through them. My understanding is these get a little bit more interesting as the series goes on.
Yeah.
I could be wrong about that, but I believe that's true. So kind of going episode by episode, the powerless in the face of death deleted scenes, not super great. If you were wondering whether Monarch was turned on before King Gorilla was going to sexually assault him, he was.
Here you go.
Because he was having an erotic dream about Dr. Girlfriend.
We get 21 and 24 talking a little bit more about their past lives. Like, we knew that 21 was a missing kid, that he got abducted. And we're not going to see that really again, and for I think to like season 6 or something like that.
Yeah, quite a while.
Yeah, but backstory about 24 is kind of is kind of weird and different, and we find out that during the time that 24 was presumed missing, hence working with the Monarch, his dad married his ex-wife.
It's incredible, incredible stuff. Horrible. During the hate floats. We just get extended, the phone call between the Monarch and 21 and 24 goes on a little bit longer. The henchmen are making their pitch on the street to the gang members.
Yeah.
So it gets, that's just a little bit longer. Not a whole lot to it though.
It dwells more on the weapons part. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that part is fully animated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
if an episode didn't have a notable scene in it, I didn't write it down here in the notes just because it was like, oh yeah, I don't know why they even saw fit to put that here, but like, I enjoyed in Love Bites when Hank was doing the hand signals. They cut out a line that Brock said that was really good. Initially, he just says, "You have no idea what you're saying, do you?" But then he takes a beat and says, "You're just having fun. You're just having fun with your hands, aren't you?"
Yeah, which is a better line.
Yes,
they should have substituted that in.
Yeah.
In 20 Years to Midnight, we get Dean finding the meteor from the pilot. That doesn't bother me. Mm-hmm. I could have done the extended cut of Colonel Gentleman talking about toys he wishes that he had when he was a lad, though.
Yep.
It goes on for a very long time.
It's 2.5 minutes.
And it's animated because they just loop it. It's really good. I want like an extended 7-hour version of that.
Micronauts. Which
Micronauts.
Stay alive. The survival game.
The survival game. Like the way the Colonel Gentleman is great. Yeah. Of course I want to have sex with Kiki. Have you seen him? He's beautiful.
I'm really happy he's not dead.
Yeah, I think things come back, Uncle Gentleman. Mm-hmm. JJ also, there's a part where he gets upset during that where they wrote a prescription for Johnny, and they kind of just have that out. Like in the episode, we have to just kind of guess why he's cranky in the background, but here they spell it out. He's mad that he wrote the prescription, and the sea captain kind of tells him, yeah, they don't really honor prescriptions written on the back of candy wrappers. Like, I think you'll be okay.
Right. It wasn't the ethical breach that you thought. We're saving the world, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Victor Echo November, we get a little detail. In the actual episode, it just kind of looks like his game is selling stolen art. That's his villainy. But in this, he throws out a line about oh, I had to pull myself up by my bootstraps, but all of my money from these sales, the guild takes it and puts it into charities for up and coming villains or something like that. So
yeah. It's like the villain, there's like a hideouts for the homeless or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of thing. It's basically for disadvantaged villains.
I like the added flavor of Phantom Limb being a fuck you got mine guy.
Yeah.
Just adding more to him being the worst.
Okay, he sucks.
Uh-huh.
I'm also glad he's not dead.
Yeah.
There are some of them in previous episodes. I'm glad you have a note about this. There are tons of just fat jokes about 21.
Yep.
And you can tell because I think that's just, Doc and Jackson just giving each other shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Live. So it makes sense that a lot of that stuff would just kind of get improvised. But I'm glad it was on the cutting room floor because it's not particularly good. Mm-hmm. Not in a social justice body shaming way.
It's just easy. It's an easy, lazy joke. There are other things you make fun of him for. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not very funny.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what a good, worth saying fat joke looks like in 2021.
I don't know.
Even if you take aside the ethics of it, what is the new take on that? That might be well and truly dead.
Possibly. I don't know.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. But just those were peppered throughout, and I didn't make a note of the individual ones. It was just more like here it was them talking like it was 24 giving 21 shit about having his plate be too full, and then talking about whether or not diet soda counted as being dietetic, which is just not a word that you hear. Like it, Frank Grimes' lunch was dietetic, and that's about it.
Yeah, the weird Schwarzwälder word.
Yeah. No.
Little bit of stuff with Triana talking about her friend's look, which again they talked about that in the commentary.
Yeah.
You know how it was off a little bit, and they wanted it to be a certain kind of like one of them is a goth and one of them is kind of a steampunk kid. And it was Doc trying to hammer in some weird little fashion clique scene stuff. It feels like.
And just Triana, the way that she delivers, like, oh, maybe you could try having real eyebrows next time. Just way cattier than their relationship came across on the actual episodes.
Yeah, which is weird.
Yeah. Fallen Arches, Rusty gets a comment about Torrid's bathroom stuff. I think he says
he walks in on the bathroom.
Yeah, like right after Torrid goes and sneaks into the lair. But Rusty, I think he says something like it smells like somebody threw up in an old refrigerator.
Yeah, that is that's the line.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of the triad doing auditions a little bit as well. They talk about wanting the character Grand Dame, and specifically like they're talking about whether they're contrasting with Al.
Yeah.
Who asked, what a character's stance is on gay rights, or one of the villains, and they're like, why does that matter? And it's like, well, you guys were horny as hell for Grand Dame.
Yeah, you were asking about her cup size. Like, come on, dudes.
Yeah. Which is fine. During state dinner, we get a couple of the interesting ones where we get to read the articles.
We do.
That kind of flash by in the beginning and see all of the little like tabloid ads and stuff. And I always appreciate this kind of thing. It feels very pre-internet.
It does.
Like the idea of getting these on DVD rather than just finding like an Imgur link.
Yeah.
And that has them.
And also like imagining the television that I had in 2007 when this DVD would have come out, doing a freeze frame and squinting, trying to read the text on it in standard def.
Yep.
Yeah. But I appreciated the mock-ups. Like that's an awful lot of work for something that is going to be on the screen for about 2 seconds. Yeah. We got a good line out of Lincoln's ghost, which is fun. They'll just as he's giving a little bit more backstory about, the kind of the cosmology of angels or the ghosts becoming angels and getting their wings, and how like he's the only one who hasn't. I like that he calls Kennedy, says Kennedy, that lucky Mick pussy out.
Yeah, just cool.
Yeah, cool.
Pretty intense. But the idea that like all the presidents have to get their wings and like solve a crime or something to move on from the White House is pretty funny.
Yeah. So I can understand why they cut it, but also,
Yeah. To me, more kind of disturbing and less funny was the Catherine the Great having sex with Miss Manyfaces.
Why did they think that would be okay?
For quite a while.
Yeah.
Like to say, make some sex noises.
I mean, so loud that it drowns out John Benjamin's actual like dialogue, which is his advice to Dr. Orpheus. Like, what were you thinking, dudes?
It's a real comedy by subtraction kind of thing, because it's much funnier when there's no advice. Like the master is kind of a shit.
Yeah.
And him just being like, Orpheus, you're going to love this. I'm Catherine the Great's horse. I'm teaching you a lesson about biting off more than you can chew. And just having him never teach him the lesson, just like do this little shape-shifting goof him up, like is way funnier.
Yeah. I just like the idea of Orpheus walking out.
Yeah. Orpheus is like, okay, like, you're just having fun with your hands, aren't you?
Yeah.
Much funnier.
Yes.
So really good cut.
Viva Los Muertos didn't really have anything. And honestly, neither did Showdown of Cremation Creek. Like there was dialogue that like highlighted previous interactions a little bit more, but honestly, nothing that shed much light on anything. Yeah.
So hopefully the deleted scenes perk up. I know that there are kind of more fun special features. At some point we're going to get from the ladle to the grave.
Yep.
all that stuff, which is going to be real fun. Yeah, let's hear your responses to season 2. We put out the call for these, both on Patreon, and you can also write in at Duckfeed.tv/contact. We'll do one of these for every season. So if you're waiting for your favorite episode to come up to talk about it, let us know.
Yeah. Please do.
Yeah.
And I will get us started here with Nick, who says via contact, I think that the joke about Hank getting bad touch by Sergeant Hatred is pretty gross. But I respect the showrunners for sticking with it as an element of Hank's character, even when it stopped being played for laughs. Hank is one of the rare sexual assault survivors in media who isn't defined by his trauma. I'm not saying that Hammer and Public deserve awards for heroic displays of representation, but that is kind of a cool thing that they did there.
Yeah, I also, am a mild defender of the Sergeant Hatred arc. Of this, as we said before and I foreshadowed, I don't think that they were trying to make Hank not defined by it so much as just not wanting to get into it.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty weird if they ended up having the boys reckon with that.
Yeah.
In an episode, just I don't know how that would work.
It just didn't. I don't know that they could even attempt to do it even seriously. It would always come across as making light of it. Now, when you look at Hank's plots down the line, he's always the one who is being taken advantage of by older people a little bit. There's no spoiler policies, but Dermot's mom, right? He, does tend to lose his innocence, but he never gets less innocent because of it. Yeah.
And partly because he gets his mind erased a lot.
No, true. Yeah.
Either through cloning or through the mind eraser machine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is something where, I'm not going to take this read away from anybody.
No.
If they find that. And I do think that it's, objectively a better decision for the Venture Brothers creators to not have these characters defined by that.
Yes.
That would have been opening a door to a lot more tasteless jokes. What's less arguable is whether they should have even opened that door in the first place.
Yeah.
To have this even be an element of the show. It's always hard for me to, talk about because they're what did Henry Darger write this? There are jokes that I think are very funny that are related. To this stuff. And, now that I'm watching ahead, on rewatch, I am maintaining my appreciation of Sergeant Hatred's character and how they treat him seriously.
Yes.
It's not, I don't know whether I'm saying it's worth it. Whether the juice is worth the squeeze, but I'm saying that there is some juice.
Yes.
That you get. It's not just a slam dunk. You got nothing in exchange for these tasteless jokes. There are some things that I think are actually kind of worth it and interesting and funny.
Yeah.
That come out of it.
And we'll have plenty of Sergeant Hatred next season as well.
Oh, tons. And in season 4.
Oh, yeah.
So much.
I mean, that's not Sergeant Hatred. That's Sergeant Vatred.
Oh, sure. Well, no, everything except for the D.
Oh,
so it's Sergeant VD, actually. Stephanie says via contact, I'm watching along with the show, and this is my first watch of the Venture Brothers. I missed it along with every other TV show for the last 20 years because I rarely watch TV. Really enjoyed season 2 a lot. They did a great job of fleshing out the world and developing the secondary characters more. I just want a show following 21 and 24 around because they never fail to crack me up. Count me in as one of the few who enjoyed State Dinner. The partly unhinged, partly creepy Lincoln, Brock's rival, and horny Mama Manstrong were enough for me to find entertainment in the episode. Love you guys. On to season 3.
Yeah.
Thanks, Stephanie.
I'm happy you enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. And even watching ahead, even the worst episodes of Venture Brothers, we talked about this, aren't, grim death marches.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like State Dinner that much, but it's at the end of the day, it is 20 minutes of watching cartoons move around.
Yeah.
It's not so bad. I'm okay.
I don't like being locked outside my house, but hey, it was 20 minutes of looking at the shiny lawn ornaments on my neighbor's deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the worst thing that happened to me that day. That's not so bad.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure. Let's see here. Ted wrote in saying season 2 is the last time for me wherein the show has a full-on dud episodes. Looking at you, Steak Dinner. Overall, though, the dialogue, animation, and storytelling are leagues above season 1. Victor Echo November, in particular, begins to signal the growing strength of the show. Wonderfully realized character moments set inside of lore-heavy but pathos-filled world. Also, Hank refers to a hand dryer as being like someone with a fever yelling at me. To this day,
yelling at my crotch.
Yes. To this day, 15 years later, every time I use a public restroom, that line pops into my head.
Mm-hmm. It's an incredible line.
Yeah.
Always going to go to bat for Dean refusing to put water on there. Oh no, that's how we got into this problem in the first place.
Yeah, that's a good episode.
It's a great episode. Maybe it's one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. Like it's really hard between House of Mummies, Fallen Arches, and Victor Echo November in season 2 for me. Should we do first and worsts?
I mean, we can. Yeah, I've got the list of episodes. Did we do that last
season? I feel like we did the last season.
I don't think we did actually.
Oh,
yeah.
We
can start now.
Let's take State Dinner out of the equation.
Yes, jettison in file under water terms. Yeah, I'm
gonna do you one better. I'm also gonna say we have to take Love Bites out. Ooh, what are you gonna pick?
Oh, Assassin Any 911, my friend.
No, it's pretty good. I might say Showdown at Cremation Creek Part 2.
Ooh, okay.
Which is less funny and less interesting than I remembered it being.
Uh-huh.
You know? I don't know that's necessarily worse than Assassin Andy 911. And it's definitely not, but it might be like solidly the 4th worst episode of the season to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Either that or Viva Los Muertos, even though I do like Viva Los Muertos.
Viva Los Muertos would be pretty high up there for me. There's something just really funny. I think the Groovy Gang really does steal the scene for me. Mm-hmm. It's just it is a really good. It's really good as a self-contained episode, even though it does have heavier lore hooks. Yeah.
Yeah. What's your number one?
Number one is tough. Because like there are things that I think are like laudatory about a good number of them. Like I love Escape to the House of Mummies, but I don't know that it is like strong enough comprehensively. Yeah, I'm gonna have to say Fallen Arches, honestly.
Yeah. Fallen Arches is great.
Fallen Arches is so good.
I would have said Mummies before the season, and now I think I'm probably at Victor Echo November.
Yeah. And I'll throw in an honorable mention for Caged Bird, honestly.
Oh yeah, I love that episode.
Yeah.
On rewatch, I used to say that The Doctor Is Sin is my favorite Venture Brothers episode, and on rewatch, I don't think it is. It does have my favorite moment in the Venture Brothers, though.
Yes.
So that's next season we've got Now Museum, Now We Don't. Mm-hmm. That episode's incredible.
Scaramantula.
Yeah, this is really, really good. I can take the stairs 2 at a time. Up.
Get the
everything with brain
Lepidopterus.
yellow.
Yeah.
The Lepidopterus is really good. Yeah, great. Shane says via contact. Sorry to just put that in the middle of the responses.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
There's no governing body.
Yeah.
Shane says, my primary memory of season 2 is the Everybody's Free opening montage. I was in high school when season 2 aired. My friend and I just discovered Windows Movie Maker and would make countless edits to that scene, adding video filters and audio effects. Really dumb stuff looking back, but at the time it was hilarious. Those edits would grow into a shared language of inside jokes that persisted for years. When I think of those earlier seasons, I remember he and I making our jokes more than the show itself.
Oh, that's great.
That's very sweet.
Yeah. I mean, that's a commonality when people write in on like WAF about a game. Like whenever they say, oh, this game was something I bonded with a friend over, or something that was like a real important thing between me and a family member. I love those responses. Yeah.
That's sweet.
Mm-hmm. And hey, it helped you learn video editing, which is a fun thing to do.
Yeah. You learned as well.
Panda writes in via contact saying, at the risk of sounding like a TV Trip's back alley, I like it when IPs stealthily share a fiction in a way that goes past Easter eggs. For example, you could tell yourself that Demons and Dark Souls are unrelated, or Fallout and Wasteland, but why would you want to when the developers gave you the room to connect them? That said, this show is more or less the current incarnation of the Johnny Quest IP, even if Suits got controlling about it later. Nobody can say Race Bannon didn't appear and die in Season 1. The later reveal with Ben really kind of gets to me, as well as the next season where Mr. Quest offers the boys a covert escape option from the compound. They work him into the lore at several points, and I think the world building is stronger for it. There's several great payoff points, too. I'm partial to the scene where Dr. Z is shown having settled down with his beard and has dinner with the aging boy detectives. It's interesting to me how they let that Pixar guest boarder handle Action Johnny's introduction and cast Brendan Small to voice him. I've always felt like this was a piece of the show that was important to Public and Hammer, but never seemed to make an impression on the fans. Well, it made an impression on me. Yeah.
What's the Pixar guest boarder?
They got somebody. They got somebody like the to do the storyboard for the scene where they're circling around inside the Quest like diving bell thing.
Oh yeah.
They just had a buddy at Pixar who did storyboard, so they brought in to do that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Pixar guest boarder. Just like
somebody
just to act like turn on the Winter Soldier inside me. Like yeah. No, I love that episode. I love the stuff with Dr. Z. Mm-hmm. And the self-help episode is really, really good.
Yes.
The Hale Boys. Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great part of this. And when they end up showing Race Bannon in the flashback, to OSI, like just torturing a guy, just casually in the background.
Yeah.
The idea of this just being a standard thing is very funny.
Yeah. And Dr. Z becomes, not major, but he really factors into the later seasons in a way that I didn't expect.
Yeah. No, and he's great. Mm-hmm. The musical sting that pops up when he pops up is very fun.
Yeah.
Finally, Owen says via contact, listening to you guys go over season 2 highlighted for me why I enjoy the Venture Brothers method of parody more than the other Adult Swim shows at the time. C-Lab 2021 is almost an early absurdist comedy podcast that used bad Hanna-Barbera animation as a jumping off point. Harvey Birdman is going to have Fred Flintstone be a Tony Soprano parody or use Apache Chief to make spilled hot coffee lawsuit jokes. Only the Venture Brothers is going to use the Scooby-Doo gang to show up as takeoffs of famous mid-century serial killers in a lore-heavy episode and then kill them off before the jokes stopped being funny. Jeez to myself, not to them. We get to see them figure out the show and its characters this season. Phantom Limb becomes more than a fun voice and a pun name who emerges as a favorite character of mine that lets them play with a high-class gentleman thief archetype. The Order of the Triad show up in a big way this season that makes me miss all of them in later seasons when they fade into the background. This is the season when they figure out how much fun the Guild of Calamitous Intent can be and make better jokes about it and the SI than Marvel will ever do with S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra. This season came out in my DVD buying days. I definitely had this season in my PS2 more often than season 1, though I did usually skip over a state dinner.
The audience divided on state dinner, at least per these responses. Yeah.
And this is kind of what I was talking about before, how this begins, they do expand, like it is an expansive show in a way that reminds me of The Wire almost.
Yeah.
How like every season is just adding to the stable of stuff they're going to talk about.
Yeah.
And it is very different than every other Adult Swim show.
Oh, yeah.
I liked all those shows, but C-Lab 2021 is not even really a parody.
Nope.
Like they have one episode that is, that's one of the weirdest episodes that's ever been aired off TV of anything. But in general, you're right. That is like a comedy podcast. Mm-hmm. Like that's just fun. This is more ambitious. Mm-hmm. I think this is, one of the more ambitious things that Adult Swim did up until, I feel like Tim and Eric came around. And basically changed the entire fabric of what like absurdist advertising and stuff would be, for everything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Just it almost, I don't even like, I would not naturally draw a comparison between Venture Brothers and something like C-Lab 21 and Harvey Birdman, both of which are shows I like go back and watch pretty frequently now that they're on HBO Max, Yeah. Like, that's pretty cool. But there's such different things, even just from intention, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things about that could have had the way the story could have went, where the Venture Brothers was too expensive and ambitious.
Yeah.
To continue, something I think about a lot is on Comedy Central, all the alum from the state got together and ended up making Reno 911 and Stella around the same time. And Stella is great.
Yep.
That is an incredible show, but only lasted for 10 episodes. And I remember reading an interview with Thomas Lennon and him saying, like, yeah, if they had made it as cheap as we made ours, they'd still be on the air.
Yeah.
Like they filmed it, they had costumes, they had a budget. It was more ambitious than Reno 911, which is just an improv joke cops parody, which I also liked a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad that didn't happen with the Venture Brothers.
Same.
There were signs of that with it taking forever between seasons. And I remember even before this, it being kind of news when a season would get renewed. We wouldn't quite know when we're being renewed or when they would actually come out. Things like that. Like, it always felt like it was a little bit in danger.
Yeah. It felt like a loss leader almost.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Like, made up its money in DVD sales or something.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad we got what we got.
Same.
So,
and hey, I'm glad that there's still a possibility of more.
Absolutely. I really would like a movie.
Same.
All this in Gargantua 3, put it all together.
Yeah. And that's all the responses we got. Thank you everybody for writing in. There's nothing saying you have to write in right before we film these. If you have thoughts on the season as we're going, feel free to drop them in. That's just at Duckfeed.tv/contact. There's a little button you press for orb, and it's a form you fill out. It's super quick and super easy.
Yeah, if you like forms, you will like this form. You can also rate and review the show on Apple Podcast. You can support us on patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. Get episodes a week early. All these things are appreciated and help us out and let us do what we do.
Yeah. I think that's everything. Yeah, I'm looking forward to season 3 of both the show and the show. And until next time, go Team Venture.